Happy New Year, almost. It's Book Quote Wednesday and the word is tired. Today I am reading from my time travel novel Time's Chariot. Our heroes have semi-successfully saved the day, which means they have foiled the bad guys' plans, but despite working for a civilization that has time travel, they have come to the very end of the home time, which means there is no way back to when they came from. Chapter 25. Rico came abruptly out of the post-transference days when someone tripped over him. He was sitting on the floor of the transference chamber, still in the hugged-up position in which he had left the 21st century. It was darker for him than it usually was in the chamber because he was surrounded by people who were standing. The man who had almost fallen over him found his balance again and stumbled back into the man behind him, who stepped to one side and bumped into the woman next to him, who, Hey, careful, I'm down here." The person next to him reached down and held him up. Rico realized it was Sue. He pulled himself to his feet, fighting the mass of people around him. The chamber was packed, men and women of all colors, shapes and sizes. There was little talking, not even murmuring. These were correspondents, conditioned to keep themselves to themselves, and not even the fulfilled promise of recall day was going to break them out of their usual reserve. A soldier was there too, and his face was split by an enormous smile. Recall day. He seemed genuinely happy. Well, I'm sorry this spoils all those plans you had for me, Opgaran." "What do you mean? We're back in the college," Rico said. The old smugness was back. "Recall day is 27 years after our own time. Assuming they haven't abolished the statute of limitations, anything I ever did wrong is long forgiven." "Rico," Sue whispered, and that brought Rico's mind neatly back to a far more important point than the possibility that the soldier was going to get away with everything. Her face was ashen. Sue had left a husband and child back in the old home time. Tom would now be almost due for retirement. The kid would be an adult, and to them, Sue's non-return 27 years ago would have been as good as bereavement. Rico wormed one arm around her in the press of people and held her tight. "Oh, Sue, I'm sorry," he said quietly. She rested her head on his shoulder and trembled. The doors to the chamber swung open and a voice spoke. It was friendly and resonant with welcome and love. "Correspondents, welcome back to the home time. Please follow the red lights." A stream of lights appeared in the air above them, flowing from the centre of the chamber and out of the doors. The correspondents waited a moment longer, then obediently began to shuffle forward. One of them stumbled and caught himself, then another and another. Rico glanced down. "Oh, yes." "Make way, people," he called out, jabbing a finger down at the floor. "Dead person." A few curious glances down at Alan's body, but not many. "Yes, that's right, keep going," Rico said. "Follow the light, just keep moving." 5 minutes later the chamber was empty, except for Rico, Sue, Isolde and the body. Rico looked down at Alan. "You're back where you wanted to be," he thought. "At least one of us made it." "Can I have your designations?" said a bright voice. A man and a woman in college yellow stood at the entrance, wreathed in amiable smiles. "Sorry?" said Rico. "Your designation," the woman repeated. "Is your conditioning at fault, maybe? You didn't follow the lights, you see." "Don't worry about him," said the man, following Rico's gaze down to the body. "We'll get a clean-up squad to take care of him." Rico bristled. "You will be buried with full college honours," he snapped. The two stewards took a step back, presumably not expecting that sort of tone from a returning correspondent, let alone a correspondent who knew what the college was. "You will not be cleaned up. Got that?" Please excuse my colleague. He's prone to overexcitement." A soldier stepped forward. "My name is Hossein Isolde. These two individuals and I were accidentally caught up by the general recall. Do you have any instructions concerning us?" "Mr. Isolde?" said the woman. The two stared at him as if he had just announced his divinity to a waiting world. Rico had the horrid feeling they were about to fall down at his feet and worship. "Yes, of course we do. And you two must be Op, Zoe and Garen. Do come with us." "We'll see your friend is looked after, Op Garen," the man said. Rico let his gaze hold the man's eyes just long enough to impart an idea of what would happen if his friend was not looked after, and ushered Sue after the woman. A soldier had already stepped boldly forth. The arrival scene in the chamber had been a microcosm of what was going on out in the main hall. Every chamber on every level was disgorging correspondence. "If your designation is BC, please follow the blue lights. If your designation is AD, please follow the green lights." No one seemed to be bothering with decon. Rico imagined this quantity of people would overwhelm the automatic systems, and every correspondent would get individual treatment instead. He whistled, and it was a strangely loud noise, because despite the quantity of people, the only other sound apart from the background announcements were shuffling feet and jostling bodies. "Did we leave anyone upstream at all?" he said. The woman didn't catch his meaning. "Oh no, all our people will have been recalled," she said. Then, to the air, "I have Mr. Asaldra and his companions here." "This is Field Op Garin," Rico simmed to back her up before realizing he was getting nothing in return. Of course, he had destroyed his sim implants back in the 21st century. It was the least of his worries right now. And what exactly was going on? Mr. Asaldra and his companions seemed to imply that some fame had accrued to all of them in the intervening 27 years, but to Asaldra in particular. "Hussein!" An eidolon appeared in front of them, a woman in late middle age, red-haired, gazing at Asaldra fondly. "Oh, how I've missed you!" "Hello, cat darling." Asaldra's smile seemed more fixed. "I'm back." "And to a hero's welcome," the Ekat woman assured him. "Well done." She gave Rico and Sue a glance that seemed to skim off the top of them, then looked back at Asaldra. "Hussein, I hope you don't mind, but we arranged a press conference, and anyone is dying to meet you, or at least sim you, if you're not too tired after your ordeal." Asaldra must have been born for this moment. He seemed to puff to twice his size, and his proud smile could have illuminated the entire transference hall. "Not too tired at all, my dear. I'll just need a moment to freshen up, and then I'm all yours." "Just follow me," Ekat said, and her eidolon drifted off. Asaldra took a moment to look back at the two ops. "What did I tell you?" he said quietly. "I expect I'll see you around." And he was off. It was all too obvious. Asaldra had powerful friends, and they had been laying the groundwork for his return for the last 27 years. Here, he wasn't the not especially bright stooge of Li Dai-ho. He wasn't the man who had managed to be outsmarted not once but twice by the correspondent he had been so ready to use. Rico didn't know if Dai-ho's work had borne any fruit, but if Asaldra wasn't now the man who had saved the home time, then he was at least the one who had busted a gut trying. "Rico," Sue said, her voice still a whisper. "I know, Sue, I know," he said gently. "I can't sim. It's telling me it won't accept my connection. I can't even find out about them." "Hello, Mr. Garin." It was a man's voice, and familiar enough to make Rico turn quickly. It came from a ball of marker light hovering in the air behind him. "Welcome back to the home time. And you, Miss Zoe." Familiar? Yes, but Rico couldn't quite place it. "Will you come this way, please?" Sue only looked at the light blankly. Rico still had one arm around her, and he could feel she was still trembling. "Are you of the college?" he said. "Op Zoe has family." "I know all about you," the light said. Whose voice was that? It hovered just the wrong side of recognition. "Please come this way. That's all I'm allowed to say." "Who?" Rico said, but the light was already drifting off. So Rico and Sue forced their way through the mass of correspondents, who were finally being sorted into more specific groupings. 16th to 21st centuries AD, please follow the yellow lights. 11th to 15th centuries AD, please follow the blue lights. 6th to 10th centuries AD, and followed. After a brief spell in decon, the light led them out of the hall and into the corridors and chambers of the college. Rico had been wondering if there would be some kind of red carpet laid out for the returning lost field ops, but apparently not. No one even gave them a second glance. Maybe the inquiry into their non-return had judged them incompetent and an embarrassment to the college. Maybe, under the new version of history, they were the villains who had obstructed Asaldra in his noble work, and they had been struck off the rolls. "See, the conquering hero comes," he muttered. The layout of the place was the same, the cut of the clothes slightly different, not one face recognisable. And the whole place was strangely quiet, subdued, as Rico thought might be expected on the last day of the home time. They came to a carry field and were whisked away with the light following. Rico suddenly had a suspicion what was happening. "It'll be a party," he thought with a grin. "They're laying on a welcome home do. Maybe not everyone, but Sue's family are bound to be there, maybe her grandkids too. Except that they were not heading in the direction he would have expected. "We're going to the Outsiders' Quarter," he said. "We're going to the Appalachian Consulate, Mr. Garin. All the regular college accommodation is booked up for today." "I haven't been having good experiences with Appalachians recently, you know," said Rico. The voice was amused. "I know." They came to the barriers of the consulate, where Rico and Sue had to get off the carry field to walk. The light beamed a clearance code at the guards, and they let the ops through. "Almost there," said the light. They stopped outside an apartment, and the light faded into nothingness just as the door morphed open. The apartment held a man and a woman coming towards them. Not a party then, Rico thought, and failed to keep the disappointment off his face. The man was smiling broadly. Come in, please. The voice was the same as the one that had led Rico here. How do you do, Opzo? We met briefly, you may remember. Opgarin? He looked Rico up and down. I remembered you as taller and older, but then I was slightly smaller and a lot younger. Rico studied the man in return. Dark hair, maybe a touch of grey, early to mid-40s. The penny dropped as they stepped into the apartment and the door closed behind them. You're Jonjo. John Tun, Beige, Mr. Garin. Johnson smiled and held out his hand. And this is Sarah. Hello, Sarah smiled broadly and held out her hand. I never got a chance to thank you. Johnson said, the register asked us, well ordered, but we were happy to oblige, to be here to meet you. He thought you'd like some familiar faces. I never thanked you either, Opzo, Sarah said. Her smile was still wide and genuine as she held her hand out to Sue. I can still remember. For God's sake! It was almost a scream, and it made Rico, Johnson and Sarah jump. Sue flung herself away from Rico and stood facing them. Her hands were balled up into fists. They quivered with emotion. Her whole body shook, and it looked as if she was about to throw herself on one of them and pound them to pieces. Will you stop nattering and tell me where my family are? Your family? Johnson seemed baffled. I've no idea, but I could find out if you like. You mean the register didn't tell you? Rico said. Sarah and Johnson were completely nonplussed. But why should it? Sarah said. Well, you know. Rico stepped over to Sue and gently took hold of her shaking wrists. He rubbed them together but didn't take his eyes off Johnson. She might have appreciated the information. She's got a lot of catching up to do with them, you know. 27 years and all that. Catching up? Johnson looked at Sue in surprise. But I mean, you go back, don't you? They won't miss you for a moment. Everyone knows that. Remember, you can buy my books at www.benjeeps.com. Have a good evening. Have a wonderful 2026. See you in January.